how about this one? If you want to take Genesis a little bit further, Adam and Eve is really just a metaphor, right? And God created the story of Adam and Eve because when he was evolving man, because creation doesn't begin, it begins when God breathes his spirit into man. So there could have been Neanderthals and all that. So then all of a sudden he breathes his spirit 6,000 years ago into man. Man awakens, right? Starts realizing things because God has opened up his eyes. He's gonna freak out unless he gives him. He's gonna be what? He's gonna contemplate. Why am I here? How did I get here? I have consciousness now. I'm curious. I need to figure these things out. You're gonna have to give him some story, right? Maybe God, that was the story God created for him because he wanted to send him on his way for a path. So he has an idea. So he's reaching for God, right? There was a man, there was a woman, Adam and Eve. You were in the garden, and the snake came along. This is what you need to know because you're a newborn, right? And then the reason why demons get created and everything else is because God showed me this thing, this cactus one time with this battery operated cactus. It's like these little 2-year-olds, right? They go, ah. And the little baby toddler would see it and get scared. But it's just a battery operated cactus. But they're 2, they don't know that. So if your eyes have been awakened and all of a sudden the Spirit of God has been breathed into you and you're newly formed here and you start seeing these things, you might start contemplating that they're evil. And then that idea gets perpetuated over time. It becomes Zeus. The snake becomes Zeus. It becomes Baal. It becomes Dionysus. It becomes Satan. It just keeps on. It becomes something else as society grows. But ultimately it's the snake, and there was no snake. Adam and Eve are their toddlers are in the garden. God said, "Don't touch the cat food." The toddler goes over and touches the cat food. You say to the toddler, "Why'd you touch the cat food?" "I didn't touch the cat food. I just saw you touch the cat food. The snake told me to touch the cat food." "What snake?" "The snake." You ever heard a toddler? You ever told the toddler, "Don't go touch the cat food"? You could be sitting there looking right at the toddler. The toddler, "Do not touch the cat food. You know you're not supposed to touch the cat food." Okay. Go in the other room or whatever. You watch the toddler. What's the toddler do? Goes over and touches the cat food. You come in. Toddler might even have the cat food in his hand. Didn't I tell you not to touch the cat food? I didn't touch the cat food. I told you not to touch the cat food. Why'd you touch the cat food? I didn't touch the cat food. Why'd you touch the cat food? The snake told me to touch the cat food. What snake? The snake. There's no snake. And then maybe God said to Adam and Eve, he said, "You don't want to know what? Here, why don't you guys go down here to Earth and you just stay down there until you can figure out this whole snake thing. And when you get done with the snake thing, then you can come back. You're grounded. You're on timeout." I mean, there's a bunch of different ways I can look at it. Or maybe it's this. Maybe God, like, he needed a way to teach, to get everybody involved. Teach you time. Teach you order. To grow you. The story of Adam and Eve is Adam and Eve are the sun. Right? Adam's the sunrise, Eve's the sunset, but they're both the sun. And the reason they're the sun is because Eve comes out of Adam. Right? Adam's the sunrise, Eve's the sunset. And if you go back to like all the see, we can get really deep. Even in Egyptian, there's an atom, and it's the story of Genesis. The story of Genesis in a lot of different societies, right? And it even comes out of like if you go to Better Sheep, Better Elohim, and Haishemai, it means gods, but it's actually the story. Because they will be like gods by your free will, by your first mistake, Adam. You created the heaven and the I created it through you. There was Eden, but now there's earth and where you're at now because you created it by eating from the tree of good and evil. It's actually the first lesson that we are God. But anyway, I didn't mean to go that far deep into it. But maybe that's what he was doing. He was trying to teach you like astrological science and how day and night works. Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are the sun, right? Well, if Adam is the sun, he would be Lucifer because Lucifer is the light bearer. You're like, oh, well, then he would be Satan too. Well, because what is Lucifer? What was Lucifer? The covering of God. He covers God. If God breathes his spirit into Adam and the spirit goes into Adam, Adam becomes the covering of God. Right? If they walked into Eve together, he takes the rib and creates Eve. Maybe there wasn't an Adam and an Eve because he tries to find partners to talk to Adam. He uses the bird. That's not sufficient. So he puts him to sleep, pulls the rib out, and creates Eve. They walk in the Eve together. They walked in the evening. Eve might have been a spirit. Adam was a spirit. Because if they were spirits before they were flesh and there wasn't Eden, then they would have been spirits of the same of the same kind. Now, the snake, if the snake is Satan, the snake as Satan goes, well, I want to have that power. Well, the only way to have that power is to get Adam and Eve to touch. Adam and Eve aren't supposed to touch. Good and evil, if you take the last letter of good, it's D, and if you put it with evil, it becomes a devil. So when they touch, they have a child. The first child born in conceived in Eden is Cain. Then, after that happens, God says, here, he throws him out of Eden. And then the second child born is Abel. El at the end of a name means fallen. Abel, Michael, Gospel. It means fallen. El means born in the fall. That's why the first one born in the fall is Abel. Cain is conceived in Eden. Abel is conceived in the fall. Cain kills Abel. That's why the second child is always the one that gets blessed. Jacob. Because that's the curse. There's a bunch of others. Like, if we want to get really, like, if I want to sit down with the rabbi, he'd probably be interested. That's why I don't talk about this stuff. Most people wouldn't be interested in this stuff. It's really too fucking deep. They can't even understand that Jesus Christ isn't real, let alone me getting this deep into like, the explanation of Genesis. Like, there's a bunch of different concepts that I have with Genesis. Are they important? Not necessarily. But since I can explain this to you, I can let you know that Genesis shouldn't be a book of the law. Because you're also making the story of the fall, right? You're making that law. You're creating the snake. You're making the snake law. And if by free will, if what we create and God gives us the ability to create free will and all these other ways that you guys look at it, if Genesis is a book of law, then it makes the snake real. Maybe we can just get rid of fucking demons and everything by taking Genesis out as a book of law, and it repairs it. I don't know if it's quite that simple, but there's probably a long way to go. Because what you're doing, maybe because that like the Eucharist is like the body and blood of Christ and all that Jesus stuff, that's a pagan sun ritual, right? And what you're actually doing is you're recreating original sin. You're bringing it back into the world. Christians don't even realize that. What you're doing is original sin was already taken care of. Original sin is gone with Noah. When God sends down the flood, he gets rid of original sin. That's why that's what the symbolic nature of the flood is. Because the curse of Adam is from dust, from dirt you came, from dirt you shall return. What do you do when you're dirty? You wash yourself off. God, that's the one time God admits in ever, for whatever reason. He's like, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. You made a mistake. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you another chance, and I'm going to wash the dirt off. When he washes the dirt off, he gets rid of the sin of it. He gets rid of original sin. There was no original sin when all that John the Baptist washing Jesus. There was the original sin's already gone. Right? Passover lamb has nothing to do with the original sin. The atonement has nothing to do with original sin is already gone. And and Genesis definitely in the first book. Exodus is the first book because that's when God actually takes ownership. That's when he actually takes ownership. That's why it's the first book. Exodus is the first book. Genesis isn't the first book. Genesis is a story. It's true, but and there's covenants in it, but it doesn't matter because the covenant on Mount Sinai supersedes all things. That's when he actually fully takes ownership. You are my people, and I will be your God. It's an Exodus. He's just leading you to that point. He's leading a lot of civilization to that. There was no original sin when Exodus happened. He got rid of it with Noah. That's why he washes the earth. That's what that. That's about. So when John the Baptist is baptized and whatever, and Jesus baptized, and Jesus goes, "I'm doing this to get rid of original sin." What you're actually doing is you're recreating original sin, and you're bringing it back into the world because it was already gone. It didn't exist. But people don't realize that that's what they're doing. But whether they're doing it or not, but by the rule, see these. That's why I have a lot of problems with these rules of what's supposed to go on because it doesn't work like that. As I speak, I create and all that, and free will stuff. But by the rules of how everything's supposed to work, by so maybe all that's bullshit, right? If I am recreating original sin, I'm bringing it back into the world. It's being brought back in because I have free will to bring it back in. I don't, but everybody else, you got a billion people bringing original. Then God's gonna fucking go with that and be like, okay, that's what you want. Here, have that, have that. Maybe demons don't have to exist, but you're like, here, a demon, and then so the demon shows up. You know, the snake. There actually isn't a snake, but you created a snake, so he goes and he sits right there behind you because like he had to come up and sit there, right? For no reason, because he's a snake. Anyway, I can't wait to kill that. For real, I can't wait to get rid of all these